And I am very pleased to have with us on the program right now the sheriff in Weld County, Colorado, Sheriff John Cook. Sheriff, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me again.
You bet. It's good talking to you. And front page of the New York Times, Sheriff.
I know. I'm gonna have to go home and buy me myself the paper.
Yeah. How about that? I mean, you are in fact, not only are you the front page of the New York Times, you're the lead. You're the lead to this story. When Sheriff John Cook of Weld County explains in speeches why he's not enforcing the state's new gun laws, he holds up two 30-round magazines. One, he says, he had before July the 1st when the law banning the possession, sale, or transfer of the large-capacity magazines went into effect. The other, he maybe obtained afterwards. He shuffles the magazines, which look identical, and then challenges the audience to tell the difference. How is a deputy or an officer supposed to know which is which, he asked. Now, first of all, Sheriff, that's a great question, and I have to give kudos to the New York Times for actually leading the story with a very uncomfortable fact for gun control advocates, that they've passed a law that's very difficult, if not impossible, for you to enforce.
Well, I know. I did read it online, and I actually thought it was a very fair and accurate report. And so, but that's part of the issue. And I was at the rally for one of the recalls of Senator John Morris, and I was asked to say a few words, and that's what I did. And I asked Governor Hickenlooper if he was there to point out which one was illegal, or Senator Morris which one was illegal, and of course no, they weren't there. But if they were, they wouldn't be able to tell me which one was illegal, and nobody in the audience was able to tell me. So I think it's when you present facts and logic to people, it makes sense.
Well, it certainly seems that way. As you say, you got the New York Times to write I think a factual story, one that wasn't too inundated with, the anti-gun talking points. And the fact of the matter is, it does get back to what I guess I would describe as an uncomfortable truth for gun control advocates. It doesn't make you a bad person if you support or propose ineffective policies. It just means that you've proposed something that's ineffective. What drives me a little batty, Sheriff, and it must bother you too, is that when you ignore what law enforcement is saying in order to pass these policies that really won't work and are ineffective and are hard to enforce, that's a little more problematic, because you and other sheriffs were warning against this as these new laws are being debated.
Right. Well, we tried to warn against it, but the state legislators didn't want to hear what we had to say. They rigged it so that all 7 gun bills were held on the same day, and limited the amount of testimony that anybody was allowed to give. And they gave 90 minutes per bill per side, and so the problem was they didn't even want to hear. They had an agenda. They didn't care what the sheriffs or anybody else had to say, for that matter. And the other problem is we have legislators that are writing gun control bills that know nothing about a gun. They don't know how guns operate. They don't know about magazines. But yet they're the ones that are trying to write these bills that affect, law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, and not only do they not know about guns, Sheriff, it seems that, and how they work. I mean, Congresswoman Diana DeGette from Colorado, the prime sponsor of the magazine ban in Congress, thinking that magazines were disposable. But it seems like in many cases they're also willing to ignore how gun trafficking works, how criminals get a hold of firearms, what happens when a background check is denied, and what that actually means. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it seems they are either unwilling or unable to really learn about this issue.
Well, right, because what this is, these laws are knee-jerk reactions to a tragedy. And instead of saying, hey, let's take a look and see what the root problems are, their attitude is, well, we have to do something, even if it's wrong. We have to do something to prove that we're doing something about it. When none of these laws that they passed would have made any difference in the Aurora shooting or any of the other mass shootings that we've had.
Let's talk about, if we can, for a minute, what happened in your state of Colorado on Friday. As you say, the new gun control laws didn't play into the ability for this individual to walk into a school armed with a shotgun. But as your colleague, the sheriff of Arapahoe County, pointed out, a deputy who was there on campus, an armed school resource officer, ran to the sound of the gunshots, and within less than a minute and a half, the situation had ended. The shooter had killed himself as he heard law enforcement closing in.
Right. And I have to, say that my heart and prayers and thoughts go out to the young lady that was shot and to the whole school. But that's so true. These gun laws wouldn't have stopped it because he went and got a background check. I believe it was the day before he went and did the shooting, and so that it didn't stop him from doing what he wanted to, because the evil's not. It's not in an inanimate object that can't do anything on its own. The evil's in the heart of man, and that's where we have to start looking. And do these people have mental issues, and how do we keep guns away from the people that have mental issues?
Talking with Sheriff John Cook from Weld County, Colorado. And again, I think it's important that people hear what you're saying, Sheriff, because you're not someone who thinks, well, look, if there's more guns, then that's going to be more crime, and that's job security for me. You come by your positions on the Second Amendment and on firearms from your own experience as a law enforcement officer, as an individual, and again, I mean, it seems like you've run across plenty of criminals who've broken the laws in order to get a hold of a gun.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. If you ask most street cops, as a matter of fact, policeone.com did in a survey, 15,000 street cops across the country, and they believe that a well-armed public, a law-abiding public, would cut down on these mass shootings and the number of people murdered in those shootings. So law enforcement, we live it and we see it, and so we know that law-abiding citizens with a firearm is a deterrent.
Sheriff, do you think that we will see another push for new gun control laws in Colorado next session?
I'd be shocked if we did, because I think the recalls of the two senators, one from the Springs and one from Pueblo, and with the third one resigning before facing the recall, I would be surprised if we saw gun control legislation being presented.
All right. Well, listen, Sheriff, thank you so much for your time, sir. I really appreciate it, and hope we can talk again soon.
Well, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Sheriff John Cook joins us from Weld County, Colorado.